Hello, and welcome to Intimacy Evolution. I'm Brianna Carey, one half of this show with my husband, Mark. Today, I graciously gave him the day off. He did not have to come in and record today. No, I'm just kidding. I did do a solo interview, and I just like to tease him about it. But I had the pleasure of connecting with today's guest a couple of weeks ago when I was actually a guest on her podcast. And I enjoyed talking with her, and I've listened to a few of her shows as well. And I invited her to speak on our podcast because I really love her message. Caoilfhionn Nic Conmara is a coach specializing in sex, desire, and relationships. She teaches people how to have more pleasure in their lives, how to ask for what they want in bed and in their relationships. She is the host of the podcast In Bed with Caoi, which you can find on all major podcasting platforms. I really loved the flow of this conversation. Caoilfhionn and I connected on many similar experiences, from vulvar pain to experiencing issues with interstitial cystitis, which is a bladder condition. She shared some amazing tips on how to identify between the various pains a person with a vulva might experience, like pelvic pain, UTI pain, vulvar pain, as well as some tips for natural healing. We discuss how she has also integrated somatic therapy into healing, specifically on helping to regulate her nervous system, and how she helps her clients to become more in touch with their bodies, ultimately helping them to experience more pleasure. There are so many good nuggets in this episode, and I can't wait for you to listen to it. So here you go. Welcome to Intimacy Evolution with Brianna and Mark Carey, where they discuss desire, intimacy, and how to embrace the changes within your relationship. Brianna has been a sexual health educator for 14 years and is currently working as a relationship and intimacy coach. Mark is a licensed professional counselor and has been running his own private practice for 6 years. Together, they have 2 young kids and have dealt with the many ebbs and flows during their 15 years together. Intimacy evolves over time, and that's okay. Let's talk about it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Intimacy Evolution. And today I am doing an interview with somebody that I was connected with. And we had a beautiful conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I'm excited to have her joining us today. Her name is Caoilfhionn, and she is a sex, desire, and relationship coach as well. So welcome, Caoilfhionn, to the show.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here. And thank you, because we were talking about this before we came live. Thank you for pronouncing my name so perfectly. It's such a tension because it's a tricky one. And it's such a joy to be here and to meet your listeners as well. I'm so excited.
Yeah. We're excited to have you and kind of just see where the flow of this conversation goes. And so if you just want to give us some background of who you are and how you came to be in this space to be a coach and kind of what you like to do.
Yeah, thank you. So my background was like very similar to yours in that I was driven by pain. So I started out having sex when I was in my teens. Really, I was a really horny teenager. I was writing about this today. It's like so randy and like so excited to have sex, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait till I can have sex, you know. And but then when I started to have sex, I almost immediately started to experience UTIs with my partners, and then I would get in long-term relationships, and I would have chronic UTIs, and then it eventually developed into this whole thing of interstitial, God, I still can't pronounce it, cystitis, which is basically like having a chronic UTI, which is very painful, very, very painful, pelvic pain and vulvar pain, and the whole, basically my pussy was sore, you know, in a very blunt way of putting it. And it was such a contrast because I was this really lustful woman, and then at the same time it was so painful, and it was very frustrating having that experience and being like, oh, I really want to change that, I really want to heal that. And so that's what inspired me to go on a big healing journey, which I'm still on. I'm still learning, still healing, still learning, finding new practices and new things. But yeah, so that inspired me. And then that's why I want to help other women and other people. It's like, oh, I want the world to have better sex.
Yes, I love that. And oh my gosh, I just am resonating with so much that you just shared because I also have interstitial cystitis.
Oh,
yeah. And so I was diagnosed with that back in 2007. And hearing you speak about this and then connecting that with vulvar pain and everything. So, can you share a little bit more about that journey for women that might not understand, obviously understanding what UTIs are, but the process of healing through that and, kind of what were your experiences with doctors in healing and what are some practices you implement to continue healing?
Oh my goodness, doctors. It's a good question. So, what happened to me is I ended up panicking because it was so painful with my first few UTIs. And, antibiotics worked. So, I went to the doctor, begged them for antibiotics anytime I had a twinge of pain because it was so hugely painful. And it's like it never fully went. And so I was panicking and in this complete distress. And the only thing I could think of doing was begging doctors for antibiotics. And they did a cystoscopy, which is where they put a camera up your urethra and they examined my bladder to make sure I didn't have too short of a urethra, which can be a cause, and other examinations. And they were like, no, your urethra is fine. And they kind of just said, hey, you just need to sort out your hygiene and then you'll be fine. Right.
Okay.
But said with way more disdain that. They're very totally useless and not very helpful or clear explaining these things to me. And what eventually happened was I had so many urinary tract infections, and also, which I didn't realize it at the time, what felt like sometimes was urinary tract infection. Only after years of sensory awareness could I actually go back and trace back and go, oh, that wasn't a UTI. That was pelvic pain, which feels really close because they're both burning, bring urgency, bring frequency. It's just a little bit of a different location. So I was going there begging for antibiotics when it actually wasn't a UTI, it was pelvic pain. So then I ended up with the interstitial cystitis. And my understanding, because I went in a whole internet binge and rabbit holes of healing and every online group and all this kind of stuff and different specialists, is my understanding of what happened to me, and I'm not a doctor, nowhere near certified as a doctor. It's just my interpretation of everything I read. And it's I degraded my gut with all the urinary tract or with all the antibiotics. So I had to go on a whole healing my gut thing. And also actually what it then introduced me to was kind of disordered eating. And so I went on very restrictive diets in an effort to heal it. Actually wasn't the answer. And what ended up being the answer was loads of stuff. Oh my God, there's so many things that led to the answer. Do you want to say anything before I go into the answers though?
No, I think you're flowing really well.
Okay, cool. Because I don't want to just talk at you. Okay, so things that were helpful was one, learning to distinguish the 3 types of pain for me. Actually, 4 types of pain. There is pelvic pain. There is pain from an actual UTI. And there is pain from interstitial, which is actually my bladder burning. So interstitial was bladder, UTIs was urethral around my clitoris, and pelvic pain was more in the vagina and sometimes in the entrance and sometimes up kind of pelvic, there's tightness around under the pubic mound and clit. So learning to distinguish what pain is happening right now and then knowing when vulvar pain was happening as well. And all of them have a very different protocol. So if it's a UTI, I learned down the road, demonose, helpful. And I also use, and I'm not a doctor, everyone listening to this, so use your own guidance, research, all that good stuff. do not just go on my word, but do your own research. I use colloidal silver in like a dropper, and I drop it into my urethra, and that actually clears out urinary tract infections.
Huh.
Right.
I've never heard of that. I mean, I didn't hear about it until I listened to one of your episodes. So yeah.
Yeah. And a friend who's an osteopath recommended it to me. So that was really helpful. And also like sorting out like hygiene, because there were like some fundamentals along the way that like just weren't educated to me, you know, and that made like a huge difference. So I did like various things around hygiene, which I won't go into now, but like that did definitely help. Then with the interstitial cystitis, I took some supplements. They were really helpful. And then what really has reversed it, like in the past few years, is actually nervous system work and working with this somatic experiencing practitioner and getting my nervous system regulated. So it wasn't starving myself and all these crazy diets. That wasn't the answer.
Yeah.
Right? It was actually healing my nervous system.
Oh, I want to circle back to that in just a minute. I want to zoom in on a couple of things that you mentioned. I love that you broke it down into the 4 types of pain to bring awareness, because I think at least what I hear and from my experience as well is, you know, it is hard to differentiate like, oh, there's pain down there. Okay, it has to be this because that's what we're taught, right? UTIs. Oh, there's pain. So I need to go get this. Then you go down the road of the antibiotics. And then, you know, with UTIs, you know, it's always told to, you know, drink cranberry juice.
Oh, yeah.
Help clear, right? But then that's high in sugar, 1. 2, with interstitial cystitis or other bladder stuff, the high acidity in there is going to aggravate that as well.
Totally.
And so then you're just exacerbating the cycle of issues if you're not pinpointing the exact cause. And so, you know, and with the hygiene part, you know, always going to the bathroom after having sex or masturbation or any type of stimulation there to help clear out the urethra and the bacteria and stuff. And so, yeah, with that, I mean, there's just a whole host of things that is very hard to pinpoint. And I love that you're touching on somatic therapy as well for your system. So can you go into more detail on how working on your nervous system helped with this as well?
Yeah. So I still do. She's amazing. A woman called Susan. She rocks my world. She's a somatic experiencing practitioner. Somatic experiencing is a modality created by Peter Levine for trauma resolution and shifting out of the body. It's really amazing. And she's also a cranial osteopath. So she does a lot of hands-on work from that way as well. So the somatic experiencing, what that does is it helps release trauma. And if you're living in this planet, you have trauma. And I certainly do. It's really powerful for shifting that out of the nervous system. But then the cranial osteopathy is very good for connecting me to health, like for a natural blueprint of health in the body and actually regulating the body. So it's really great to have the two together. And the reason why that's so good for interstitial cystitis is autoimmune issues are often triggered by dysregulation, by nervous system dysregulation. My system for years, because of various things I've experienced, is in this spot of intense activation. So I've experienced a lot of anxiety, like very intense stressors in my system. And then when my body gets overwhelmed, it goes into freeze or dissociation or depression. Accelerators on really hard, brakes are on really hard too. And those messages cause a lot of dysfunction in the body. And interstitial cystitis is like a cascade from that. It's like one of the things that can happen, especially in women.
Thank you for shedding light on that. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm just sitting with this for a minute.
Yeah, it's a lot. You know, it's a huge deal because it's like, for me, I'm like, oh, if only everybody knew nervous system dysregulation is a huge key to unlocking health.
Yeah. Yes. So much. And one of, you know, the things I work with women especially on is because women, we're taught, I don't know if we're taught, we learn to ignore our body a lot.
Totally.
And when we do that, we have all of these other symptoms that arise. And we were like, why is this happening? And it's like, because we're not paying attention to our body. And I think this is a great segue into helping women to experience and expand their pleasure, right? Because if you're not able to go into your body, you're not going to experience that pleasure. it's all mental. And they're like, I don't want to have sex. I have a hard time having orgasm because they stay stuck in their head instead of going into their body. So I don't know. How does that show up in your work?
Yeah, so that's like, it's like I'm a little shepherd helping women, shepherding them from their brains into their bodies, like, come, follow me. It's okay. I'll show you the terrain, the things to watch out for. That's what I love to do, because exactly what you described. I'm a very cerebral person. I've experienced a lot of anxiety myself, and and it's easy for me to live in my head. It's very comfortable, very cozy area, and so learning like actually how to connect with sensation, how to actually focus in on it, and like be with it was so huge. And then learning things around like, oh, how breath helps actually expand. My breath helps me relax. Also so huge. As like vocalization, another really powerful skill, and like movement. And there's so many like access points to help us getting into our bodies that at like different points I'll like pull on or I'll share with clients. It just really helps to like bridge that gap. That like gap from, oh, I'm living up in my head all the time, to actually going down into my pussy or into my breast or into my body, wherever I'm being touched.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Keep going. Yeah.
I had to take a breath there.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Yeah. Do you know, like, one of the biggest things that is like a barrier to people for actually getting in their head, and that, we're not mostly conscious of, is fear. Especially for women when it comes to receiving pleasure. So some of the common things that I've worked through, my clients work through, that I hear is like, oh, it's taking me too long to come to orgasm. He's bored. My vulva, my pussy, my genitals don't look right, don't taste right, don't smell right. I have too much hair, not enough hair, my labia, all this stuff comes up for women. I'm too fat. I'm too much if I ask him to go down on me for longer. I shouldn't need that much head. I should just come from 2 minutes a touch, like a dude, So all these voices, you don't realize it. When these voices are like crowding around in our brain, it's very hard to actually feel what's, if someone's touching you, because your attention can't be in two places. So when it's on those voices, you're not going to feel anything. It's a real barrier. So that's one that comes up. And then another one that comes up, like another barrier. People are so focused on orgasm and climax. Like they're so like, only thing worth feeling is an orgasm. When is that orgasm going to have? And it's like, well, your orgasm happens when you pay attention to the small stuff. That's how it'll happen. It's not waiting for this like thing to happen in the future. So training people actually let go of the need to orgasm. Like let it go. Trust orgasms are coming. Trust. You don't have to breathe and tense and force and like manipulate. They're coming. But you need to focus on the small stuff. You like literally need to focus on, how does it feel to have someone press my thigh with pressure? How does it feel to have someone start to caress my labia? And it's like, and what can happen in those spots is people be like, oh, it feels irritated, feels a little sore, or it's not orgasmic enough. So what can happen is they'll reject that sensation and be like, that's not enough, and then go back in their head. So it's like training people. No, you got to be with it all, whatever is happening, and practicing that.
Yeah. I love that you shared that, because yes, that is often the story we hear is sex equals orgasm. If you're not getting an orgasm, having that endpoint, then it was not worth the experience. And that's not at all, being comfortable and communicating that with your partner, it's still an enjoyable experience if you're in it, fully experiencing it. It doesn't always have to end in orgasm. And I think that's for women and men to understand, right? Because men are like, if I didn't make her orgasm, then I didn't do my job.
Oh God.
And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, did you have fun? Did you enjoy it? Did you connect? Like, let's look at more that goes into that, the intimacy of it, right? Yeah. Another thing when you mentioned women that are having trouble staying in their body, or what if they don't know what they enjoy, what brings them pleasure? What do you recommend for them?
Yeah, so I wouldn't even start in the bedroom. I would actually start like experiencing sensual pleasure in their day-to-day lives. Because it can be very intense for someone like that to go straight to genital talk. It's like, oh, and it's like, what clothes feel good in your skin? Like, what genuinely, I'm wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt because I love wearing comfortable clothes. It feels so good to be comfortable, or it's like, what's the most beautiful thing you like looking at during your day? Like, what smell do you love? And it's like, how can you create more of that in your day? How can you go on a sensuous date by yourself and just luxuriate in those experiences? So it's like opening them up to that experience of pleasure there. And even though some people are really impatient, I'm like, let's sort out my pussy now, I'm like, let's get to the good stuff, get the orgasms. And I was like, well, actually being able to appreciate beauty and your senses as you go about your day naturally feeds into your capacity to experience pleasure in sex. It's all connected, and actually will relax your nervous system in advance, so you're more relaxed for sex. Like, it's all connected.
Yeah. Just bringing that awareness helps so much. And like you said, it helps you to relax too. So when you're in it, you're like, oh yeah, that does feel good. I am enjoying this. Can be more attuned to the whole experience. And I think that we just take ourselves out of the experience because we're always thinking, okay, this is coming next. This is next. This is next. And there's just such a disconnect there.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say, it's like, one of the things I always talk to my clients about is like having scriptless sex. Because we all have this script, right? Kissing, fondling, oral, penetration, climax. And it's so fucking boring, It's like, if that's the sex you're gonna have for the rest of your life, it's kind of unappetizing because we're creatures of variety, we're creatures of exploration and mystery. When you're having sex and you actually give up on this idea of there being steps, and you're like, actually, what I want to do is to see what actually wants to emerge in my body. Where does my body actually want to be touched right now? It might be my ass crack, gets a good scratch, or like someone to lick my armpit, with like a hot attention. It really, like, when you get rid of that script, your whole body becomes erogenous. Everything becomes pleasurable. And it's like a lot more fun and like nourishing than just doing something because it's what we've always done.
I love that phrase, scriptless sex. Like I understand the concept and we talk about that. Yeah. But I like that phrasing so much because it is. And when you said that, it made me think about movies and how they romanticize this concept, right? Like a spontaneous experience, getting thrown up against the wall and passionately kissing. And then immediately in the bedroom, she orgasms and everything's great. Like, not life, not how it is. And so removing that script from your mind and just being present and like you said, what would feel really good to me right now? How do I want to enjoy this? What do I want to do to my partner? And how do you help your clients feel confident in voicing what they want? Maybe, they've held back for fear of what are they going to think if I say I want to try this, or, just things like that you're wanting to explore some more, but not sure how to communicate that.
Yeah, it's a really great question. So there's a few things I do with that with clients. So like, first I get them to understand like what's happening that you're not saying it. Like, what are the fears? And I was like, oh, I'm afraid, he'll think I'm too much, or, he'll leave me. And I'm like, is that actually true? No, is that really true? And they're like, oh yeah, it's probably not. I'm like, no, right? So, and some fears are true. And I was like, okay, like maybe it could be true. And then like that's a longer example to go into. And it's like how to have that communication with your partner. So we'll look at the fears. And then I'm like, okay, how to ask your partner for what you want. First thing I say is if you're new to asking for what you want from your partner, it's like a rusty top, right? So if you haven't asked, oftentimes you'll come out kind of whiny and angry and aggressive. And I just let women know it's okay if that happens because like there's so much pent up desire and years of frustration that we're not all smooth angels who just communicate perfectly off the bat. Oftentimes it comes out a bit rough.
Yeah.
I say, give your partners a heads up and say, hey, I'm going to start asking for what I want, and it might come out a little rough. And so then they know what to expect. So I cover that. And then it's like, when you're actually asking for what you want, ask it from an embodied place. Like, oh, I would love it if you just rubbed my back. I massaged my scalp, like gently pulled my hair. It would just feel so delicious. Can you do that? And so it's like, then it's very enticing for someone like, you probably, Brianna, I don't know if you wanted to rub my neck there, but it's enticing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you ask from a place that actually feels alive with desire and, like enticing, and to ask from that place and for it to be clear.
Yeah, I love that. And that's one thing that we kind of share is we call it the 3-minute touch game. And so removing it from sex and just communicating like, I would love it if you, like you said, rubbed my back, massaged my scalp a little bit. And so they get to practice that communicating. And also, sharing with the partner, like just because I'm asking for what I want and what feels good does not mean I haven't enjoyed what you've been doing. And so I feel like maybe there's a little bit of fear there, like how the other partner is going to receive that. Just because I'm asking for something different doesn't mean what you've been doing isn't good or I haven't enjoyed it. Do you run into that at all?
I actually haven't heard that one. I was like, oh, I haven't heard that one in a while, like, or in a very long time. I'm trying to think. The thing is, like, I love this. Speaking to reassurance, we all need reassurance, right? We all want to be told we're hot, we're lovely, we're beautiful, we're good and bad. And I think it's so important, like when we are communicating with our partners on like vulnerable topics, it's like to give reassurance, be generous. Say, yeah, no, I loved what you were doing. It felt amazing. And I just feel like a bit of desire for this.
Yeah.
So I love how you weave that in that sense. Yeah. Really lovely. I love that game you described. Sounds really practical. Yeah. It's really cool.
And, sometimes you can put it, maybe it does lead to something, but you also can take the pressure of sex off of the table and just say like, I just want to connect with you in this way. So yeah, it's one of my favorite go-tos.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like something I sometimes like guide clients to do is to create experiences. So it's like, okay, like if there weren't rules, we didn't have all this script and what sex should look like, if we just brush them off the table and we start, okay, I would love to receive like 10 minutes of having my pussy sucked, or like, can we do 15 minutes where we do massage or, whatever kind of experience. These are just like ones off the top of my head. And it's like guiding people to create what kind of experiences do you want to have with your partner where you can explore things like you're brand new and you just want to get really good at something.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them find that really helpful to kind of remove that pressure and just to explore.
Oh, I love that. I feel like that is the key of it, right? Removing pressure. I almost feel like we put on ourselves almost, not necessarily pressure from their partner saying like, but it's what we put on ourselves, maybe from what we hear from society and, the pressure of it should only be spontaneous sex. I should always be in the mood. We should be having sex X amount of times a week and all of these things that just are not real life.
Yeah. And not fun.
Yeah. But then also something that we talk about is being intentional with how you do connect with your partners or yourself, right? It's very important if you are, single to still be intentional with exploring your pleasure and, experiencing that sensuality with yourself too. And not just being like, oh, I'm not partnered right now. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. And that actually goes back to your earlier question around how do you guide people who don't know what they want? And it's like, it's so important to be your own lover, and to explore your own body and your own likes and preferences and touch. And, I have a partner, but I spend a lot of time in practices with my own body still. I'm the expert of my own body. And it's like, it's that connection, like, ooh, that feels good. That doesn't feel good. Ooh, I want to like that. It's like that awareness is what fuels my connection with my partner as well. So yeah, it's so important, even in relationship, to have that pussy connection, to have that body connection by yourself, for sure.
Yeah, so much. And I want to take that and then circle all the way back to where we began the conversation about having pain with sex. How do you, what are some things you did, excuse me, or how do you work with clients that may be experiencing this as well and communicating with their partner or navigating getting back into sex? Because you have the pain. So then you automatically have the fear and you're like, this is going to hurt again. And it's like a cycle, moving all of that.
Yeah. So I'll share from my experience how I handled it. Because when I got with my partner, I ended up getting a really bad experience of clitoral pain as a variety of my vulvar pain and intense pelvic pain. And I actually had a very bad experience with a healthcare provider, so it exacerbated it. So I reached this like bad climax of pain. And my partner, I really stuck to the rule, like, of women being aroused from the outside in. So even when my pussy felt like this place of pain, I got him to like massage my arms, massage my head, massage my back, and like gently warm up and help my nervous system relax, to like soften and receive. And like from that place, like over time, because it wasn't in one session where it's like, great, we can fuck now. It wasn't that. It was like, I'm healed. It wasn't that at all. It was months of that. And so I communicated that to him, and I like gently explained that to him, like what I needed, how I needed to be handled, how it, like what felt good, what didn't feel good. And of course, there was moments of frustration where, I didn't ask for what I wanted, got really angry at him, or, he found it frustrating. And it's just like navigating those conversations. And so and that's the blueprint I bring to clients as well. It's like, this is a really powerful way to do it. It's like to go slowly with the body and not to just go straight to the genitals. It's like letting it relax and communicating along the way is so powerful.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Patience in the process. It is a process. You're not going to heal your body. And, I use this example with my husband. Like, he had knee surgery a couple of years ago, and he had 8 weeks of not putting weight on his knee and having to go to physical therapy like 3 times a week, and then doing exercises at home as well. Like, it's a process. The same thing with pelvic pain. It's not going to be like, okay, massage me, I'm relaxed, and now everything's going to be good, because it is a whole process with the mind and the body and the healing and communicating. So just having patience in the process. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very humbling, right? Anything to do with pain, because I think we're so used to like quick fixes and I can master anything. I can do it tomorrow. And I very much have like perfectionist streak. So it's like, oh, I want to get it fixed as soon as possible. And if it's not fixed, I've done it wrong and I'm bad. Yeah. And so, but healing, like my pussy, my pelvis, has required huge humility, because those processes don't work when it comes to the body, because the body will heal when it's ready and when you give it time and like the right conditions and practices. So yeah, it's been a really, really powerful process and really humbling for me.
Oh, I love all of this so much. Thank you for sharing. I mean, I find this to be so helpful and bringing awareness to this conversation, because I think this is something a lot of women do struggle with. I mean, and this is what I found in my, in talking with my community of women and who I help serve. And but it's just not talked about, not supported by traditional medicine. Doctors, it's kind of like, well, it is what it is. That was my experience after having kids. Like, you're going to have pain, use more lube, have some wine. And I'm just like, this is not okay, because women think that they just have to endure it. And then all of a sudden their body is just for their partner and sex is just for them. They're not going to enjoy it ever again. And that is a very sad place to be in. And I don't want women to experience that. And so you sharing in this conversation today and bringing this up, like, we can move past that. You can heal.
Yeah. Here. Because it is so important that women know you can heal, you deserve pleasure, your body is enormously capable of pleasure, like loads, like so much pleasure. And just keep tipping away, like keep following your gut, keep listening to your intuition. And it's very, very possible.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Caoilhionn. And one thing I like to ask guests when they're on is, what would you like to tell your younger self about sex, love, relationships in that realm? What would you have liked to share with her?
Oh, really good one. Do you know what? What would I say? I was thinking about something today. That the ecstasy that you sense is possible. Is actually out there. Just trust and figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Oh, I like that. That gave me chills. I like that. That is so powerful. Simple and powerful. I love it.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners, and then also share where everybody can find you?
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you. So at the moment, I have a really cool program called The Pleasure Upgrade. And that's all of what I've discussed here in this podcast. It's all about helping women feel more pleasure in their lives, in their relationships, in their sex, sharing their very practical tools and techniques, but also learnings as well around how to actually have more pleasure. So it's going to be very, very powerful, very practical. Starts on the 9th of November. You can find out about it on my website, which will be in the show notes. And if you just want to follow me, I'm found on Instagram under my name, Caoilfhionn Nic Conmara. I have a podcast too. You can find me there. And it's just been such a treat, such a gift to be here. I'm just so grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Caoilhionn. It was a pleasure talking with you about pleasure. And I will definitely be putting everything in the show notes. So thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you found this helpful, entertaining, or both, please take a quick minute to give a rating and review. That would mean the world to us, and it helps other beautiful humans to find our show. We'll see you next week.